Hey guys, Aaron here. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to replace the alternator on a 5.4 or 4.6 liter Ford engine. Now these procedures are pretty similar and these procedures will be almost the same if you have a Mustang, an F-150, an Expedition, an Excursion, a Navigator. They're pretty much all the same with the exception of the airbox right there. So this particular truck is actually overcharging and it has a remand alternator on it. We're going to be replacing it with another remand alternator and probably going to remedy the overcharging condition. But the first thing we definitely want to do is just be safe and disconnect the battery. What you can do is just take a 10mm or an 8mm, take off the cable and put a rag around it just to isolate it, make sure that it doesn't touch, because we actually have live voltage at the alternator, which is right under there. Now, depending on the year and the application, the intake's probably going to be a little bit different. This is a 2005 Ford Expedition. It will be the same for the F-150s, but if you have a Mustang or Crown Vic, it's probably going to be a little bit different. So basically, we just got to remove the intake. What I like to do is just take the filter out, inspect it while we're here. Like a K&N, could be cleaned. Begin with the PCV hoses, any mass airflow sensors. Just simply disconnect the harness and you should be good. There we go. Now there's actually 4 10mm bolts that are holding down this intake. 2 on the left, 2 on the right. I'm going to begin to take those off now. And just simply lift up, swing it out of the way. Alright, so as you can see with our intake off, we have a lot better access to our alternator itself. Before removing any connections or any bolts or anything like that, what we're actually going to do is we're going to work around this hose and we're going to remove this belt off of the snout of the alternator. To do that, take a 1/2 inch wrench and insert it into this pulley right here, and by turning it to the left, I believe, or the right, you can go ahead and put some slack on this belt and we could just simply pull it off of the pulley. Now what I went ahead and did is remove the upper radiator hose that goes across here and attaches to the thermostat housing. You actually don't have to remove the hose itself, but just for demonstrations purposes, I went ahead and did that to get a clear view of what's going on below it. We can go ahead and begin to remove our battery cable. There's just one 10mm nut underneath, so we don't lose it. I like to just swing the cable out of the way and put it back on. So there is one connector at the back of the alternator, but what I like to do is when we go to remove our alternator, it'll be a lot more accessible. You can, if you got real small fingers, get down there and pinch it to remove it. But let's go ahead and take these 4 top bolts off with a 10mm socket. Now, depending on your model, again, you're probably going to have a different looking bracket up here. Sometimes they're a horseshoe, sometimes it's just a flat piece of strap, just like this. Go ahead and swing that aside. Now, there's actually 2 bolts underneath the alternator that are 10mm. What you can actually do is loosen those up. You don't have to remove them, and the alternator simply just slides up. Simply just pull up and rotate it 90 degrees. And what you'll see is a tab in the back of the connector here. Go ahead and take a bolt or a screwdriver and just depress the tab. It'll come off. There we go. here, it's pretty much reverse procedure. There we are. Now all that's left to do is put our intake back on and check our charging voltage when running. If you have an Expedition or F-150, make sure you put the intake back into the firewall correctly. To do that, insert it at 90 degrees, and then once it gets into the firewall, all you have to do is turn it 90 degrees and it locks in. There's that. Make sure all your lines snap in and your connectors are in tight. The last thing to do before we fire it up, put our intake back in, filter back in. There we have it. Alright, so with everything back together, the last thing to do is to fire it up and check for charging voltage. Charging voltage should be anywhere from 13.2 to 14.5, depending on the load conditions of the vehicle. So let's go ahead and do that and verify that our repair is complete. Alright, so that's about it, guys. I hope this video has helped you out. If it has, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave something in the comment section. Take care, guys, and I'll see you next time.